Such a shame that our military, once the greatest in the world, is now woke and weird. And is it the greatest in the world anymore? That's unknowable at this point, and I'd rather not put it to the test. We're in trouble, folks. Woke and weird, possibly weak. Look, this latest development, which has been around for a few months now, they snuck it in. You know about ejection seats? Fighter jets, some bomber jets have ejection seats. They're necessary. You can get the pilot out of an emergency. It's a very violent sequence of events. They put a rocket basically under a chair. And again, it can save the pilot's life, or it can sometimes kill a pilot. Listen to this.
As the seat accelerates upwards, gravity pulls the pilot downwards, compressing the spine. The speed at which the propulsive force is applied is critical. Apply the force too quickly, and the spine won't have time to absorb it, resulting in injury.
Meaning ruptured discs and fractured vertebrae, which can obviously be very painful for the pilot. And if the fractures are severe enough, you can get severed spine, which could lead to paralysis.
Paralysis, death, serious injury, head injury. I speak from experience. This can be quite violent. I had a punch out of a Harrier once in the late 1990s. But a seat can save your life. It is like sitting on a rocket ship. All right, that pack back there, all kinds of very controlled explosives, and you come out like a bullet. You know, we have women pilots, and I think that's great, actually. I've served with women, and they're kind of like the guys. Some are great, some are okay, some not so hot. But did you know that they're allowing pregnant women to fly in aircraft with ejection seats? Pregnant women. This is a new policy. It's a few months old, and it seems, in my opinion, absolutely insane.
These pilots are now expecting. Mom is among the first pregnant pilots to fly an ejection seat plane in the Air Force.
So you have flown supersonic pregnant, is that right?
Yes. Looked over and I saw Mark in the other aircraft and knew that flying with my husband in the other aircraft and carrying hopefully the next generation bomber pilot while flying supersonic was quite the memory.
Until last year, the Air Force made it nearly impossible for pregnant women to keep flying.
For good reason. It is dangerous for the unborn child. I don't fault those very nice pilots in the piece, all right? They're not setting the policy. They're following the policy. They're granted a waiver. They're taking it. But the idea that the United States military is allowing this, unborn children, I know amusement parks where they won't let women go in the roller coaster. But our military is, and this is all of a sudden, basically overnight. Our military, after all, is woke and weird. And a large part of the transformation is thanks to that guy, General Brown, Air Force Chief of Staff. From what I understand, he was a great fighter pilot, really could fly the F-16 very well. But when it comes to actually leading the military as a general, this is not the guy.
Here's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about how full I am with emotion, not just for George Floyd, but the many African Americans that have suffered the same fate as George Floyd. I'm thinking about protests in my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, the equality expressed in our Declaration of Independence and the Constitution that I've sworn my adult life to support and defend. I'm thinking about a history of racial issues and my own experiences that didn't always sing of liberty and equality.
Yeah, this four-star general in the middle of a presidential campaign made a video for all the troops to see about the nervous breakdown he seemed to be having over the death of George Floyd. Next.
I'm thinking about my sister and I being the only African Americans in our entire elementary school and trying to fit in. I'm thinking about then going to a high school where roughly half the students were African American and trying to fit in.
Everybody's trying to fit in high school. And what's the problem? He didn't like it when they were mostly white. Then he doesn't like it when it's half white, half black. There's no satisfying this guy. Next.
I'm thinking about my mentors and how rarely I had a mentor that looked like me.
All right, mentors. You know, you're lucky in life if you get one or two good mentors. I don't think it should matter what they look like. So, He has a big hand in setting policy, the policies that allow women who are pregnant to fly in ejection seat aircraft. That's kind of insane. I think everybody understands that. This individual, General Brown, currently the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, will soon be, if everything goes according to plan, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Yeah, he's going to replace woke Mark Milley. I did not think we could get worse than Mutiny Mark. Maybe I was wrong. However, maybe Tommy Tuberville can do something about this. You know, the Republican from Alabama, the U.S. Senator, has put a hold on various Pentagon promotions, and I think it's great. You know, he has a problem, as I do, that the Pentagon under Joe Biden wants to get into the abortion business. You know about this, right? Flying soldiers all over the country, paying for their transportation, paying for their lodging, so they can get abortions in the state of their choosing. That is wrong. They have no business doing that whatsoever. So Tommy Tuberville said, you know what? These promotions that you want that need Senate confirmation, Senate approval, we're not going to approve anymore. These individuals leading the Navy, Army, and Marine Corps, they've already retired. So who's in their place? Well, everybody from the fake news to the Secretary of Defense wants us to think nobody.
As you know, more than 300 nominations for our outstanding general and flag officers are now being held up in the United States Senate. For the first time in the history of the Department of Defense, 3 of our military services are operating without Senate-confirmed leaders. This is unprecedented, it is unnecessary, and it is unsafe.
It's not unsafe. And the only thing that's really unprecedented about this is that liberal media are actually pretending they care about who's running the Army, the Navy, and the Marine Corps.
It is completely irresponsible. It compromises national security, it compromises global security, and it creates all this chaos.
This is infecting the readiness of 3 of our 4 main branches of government.
This is legislative terrorism, okay? This guy, Tuberville, one senator, is endangering the national security of our country and our allies for ideological reasons. He is putting people in positions where they can die.
Go Tommy, and don't believe the hype. They are wrong. They're trying to scare people, and they don't care. They really don't. They just care about abortion. They don't care about the military. So these vacancies I hear about, yeah, these guys are no longer there. And they want us to believe that, oh, my goodness gracious, there's nobody leading the Navy, Army, and Marine Corps. Yes, there are. These guys had deputies who came in the very next day. They're all the same rank. It's not a big deal at all. Okay, remember that. This is an inside the Beltway Washington game, and they're trying to fool the rest of the country. Don't fall for it. And Senator Tuberville, I really think you should look into this General Brown. He's not ready, and that policy about pregnant women being allowed to fly ejection seat aircraft, please take a look into it. Next.
Name me a single objective we've ever set out to accomplish that we've failed on. Name me one in all of our history. Not one.
Can you believe it? Today he said that. Here's one. Ridding Afghanistan of terrorists. We lost in Afghanistan, and it was so unnecessary. Who's in charge there right now? The Taliban. 2 years ago this month, these creatures took over. And where does that leave us? Where does that leave the people of Afghanistan? Did you know this was happening there? Poverty is so extreme. More than half of Afghanistan's people are starving, and the Afghan people surviving by selling their children and organs. That's on Joe Biden. And he had the nerve to say what he said today. That's amazing. Did you see that movie? What was it called again? The Sound of Freedom? Selling children? Afghanistan? Is that why we left in such a hurry? I'll be right back.